My name is Kristin Russel, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer at a company called Simplr. Has anyone here, there's a lot of Simplrs, but has anybody ever heard of a Simplr in healthcare? Is anybody here from healthcare? Let's just start with that. Okay, so maybe. Anybody a CIO in healthcare? Chief Information Officer? Hopefully you're not here, but maybe. So chances are you have not heard of us, but we're about a $500 million brand. We focus on selling things like healthcare operations to hospitals. That's about all I'm going to talk about on the hospital healthcare front. You guys are like, okay, thank God. But I am going to tell you a little bit about our story and some of the work that we're doing with me and my team. So I'm not a seller. This is not a sales pitch. This is like real world, real life, kind of how we've been managing and navigating brand and automation. And it really is, quite honestly, a bit of a balancing act. And I loved the intro that you just shared, Jamie, because you talked about creative and brands with impact. And we're going to talk about that quite a bit in my little chit chat with you all. And actually, I'm going to be looking at you. So if you're on your phones or you're starting to kind of slump down or fall asleep, I'm going to try to bring the energy back up, and I may even just call on you. So just kind of a heads up on that front. Now, while I didn't actually use Siri to build this presentation, Siri is not exactly my go-to on AI. I definitely use ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity in pulling together this little talk today. And it's interesting because here's the truth. We live in this kind of AI-driven world, but yet our brands are so important. Like that human connection is so critical. We just did it, right, with the cameras and the phones. So today I'm going to share how we strike that balance at Simplr. Good, bad, some of the challenges we're having as well along the way. But something that we're kind of grounded in from a Simplr perspective, we talk a lot about emotions, which is crazy because I mean, literally, I am selling to hospital chief information officers, chief nursing officers. It's a bit of a dry group. It's a bit of a dry area of the world. But over the time that I've been CMO, over the last 4 years, we've gone from about 150 million to 500 million in revenue, in top line revenue. And part of it is because we really work hard to sort of tie our story to that emotion. We think about brand building as this rational point. And sometimes I know my team, even myself, forget about the fact that that chief nursing officer is a mom or a harried boss or and. And so finding that kind of balance in the human behind the persona is so critical to us. The other thing I'm going to talk about today is stories. And the notion that stories live a lot longer than just facts. So I could come up here and just tell you a lot of facts, and that might be a little bit of a boring presentation. But if I talk about stories, that's going to kind of resonate. In fact, I've got pictures up here, and I'm hoping each one of these images somehow clicks with somebody here. Batman, Lego Man, the DeLorean flux capacitor for like the Back to the Future. We've got Goldilocks. Each one of those are a little bit of a story in time. And it's no different with marketing. And so we really try, at Simplr anyway, to think about the fact that if we can get a story, if we can get a customer story, if we can get a nugget of an experience story, it's going to resonate so much better with our customers. Now, I want to hear from you guys. So we're going to do a little bit of an interactive exercise here. You're going to pull out your phone. Abe's got the controls here. I need you guys to scan this little Slido piece here because I want to talk about your biggest brand challenge. And I want to understand in the room, what is your biggest brand challenge? Is it proving ROI to your CFO? I have literally spent the last weekend building a big, fat, hairy ROI deck. We'll talk about that in a hot minute. What that looks like, turning brand into numbers. Is it scaling without losing authenticity, which is so hard to do? Growing your brand, growing your presence, growth while you stay true to who you are? Is it building category leadership, standing out in a crowded marketplace? Or is it connecting emotionally with customers, with finding the customer and then connecting with those individuals? So go ahead, take a minute, get your votes in. We're going to see kind of where everybody lands here. We've got a lot of folks looking at connecting emotionally with customers. Yes. Proving ROI to the CFO sometimes. Yep. Category leadership. Now, I think we've got all this stuff in. This is Connecting emotionally with customers looks like it's the biggest piece here. I'm really curious, first of all, show of hands, who's a CMO in this room? Or a VP of marketing, who like leading kind of, okay. And like if you're a CMO with a product marketing bent, like who's on that side of the equation? I'm with you guys. And what about like this creative kind of coming up through maybe content writing, journalism, PR? Yep. And then there's the growth factored CMOs that, I've got the numbers, I'm gonna get the, pipeline. Okie doke. That's just helpful as we think about this a little bit. But connecting emotionally with our customers. Let's go back to the deck, because I think the thing is, no matter which one you chose, and by the way, on any given day, I would rank those differently depending kind of on the moment that I'm in. But the truth is, no matter which one you chose, there is this sort of common thread running through all of this, and that is that you've got to have a team behind you. And I mean, this is like Captain Obvious, so nod your head if this makes sense, but you've got to have a team behind you. It's a multiplier effect. And the team for me, this is my team actually. These are people that are on my team. Some of these are customers. Some of these are the people I get to work with. They're my peers. Some of them work on our marketing team. We've got about 2,000 folks at Simplr. And we are completely remote, and so getting together in person makes a lot of sense for us. Astros games are fun. We have a headquarters in Houston. But when our teams can come together, we can get this sort of multiplier impact. And our teams together will be far more creative, more innovative, 5x the creativity according to Chip, gosh, what's the guy's name from Stanford, down the street, Chip Hughes. Wrote this whole study on that. What we also know is when we can leverage these teams to support our brand, to communicate, to advocate, we can get multipliers on that advocacy. So if I post something from Simplr, let's just say it's an N of 1. If we post it through our employee advocates, we'll use like a Sprout Social. Anybody know that Sprout Social, Octopost? We're about to switch over to those guys. The multiplier effect of having our teams share that is massive. And literally, I mean, no matter how big your team is, just getting that content out in front of them, we see about 8x the engagement when an employee posts versus then when we post, even if they repost our post. Just interesting. But let me go back to you guys. So, biggest growth lever. So what is the biggest growth lever that you see from a brand perspective? And what do you believe it will be? Is it automation and AI-driven marketing? Kind of making sure people remember and trust you. Is it sharper targeting and ICP alignment? Really focusing in on that ideal customer profile. What about that ROI and your CFO, kind of getting that tight alignment so you've got the dollars to go do what you need to do. You're showing the impact that your brand has. Or is it ultimately just coming down to that emotional storytelling again, that customer connection? It's such a noisy market right now that you really have to do a lot to kind of like stand out in any one of our markets. And a lot of us are B2B. I know there's some B2C folks here. No matter what the case is, you're just like, I'm over here. How do you stand out? So a lot of folks here, automation, AI-driven marketing, that is a hot topic. Storytelling and customer connection. And honestly, I probably go back and forth between the two, but I would answer this ROI one. I wrote this actually and did some of this presentation like last week, and I have this big board presentation later on this week, so there's a lot of like ROI nuggets in here right at the moment. Great. So a lot of thinking along these lines. If we go back, Abe, to the presentation, I think what I would share with you all is when you look at those poll results, it's clear that we're not that, like we're kind of all on the same page here. We're trying to figure out AI. It's coming up fast and furious. But yet at the same time, how do we connect? How do we tell the story for our customers? Well, let me tell you about our story. So when I joined Simplr 4 years ago, we were known as Vendor Credentialing Services, VCS, which, you know, not the sexiest brand. I'm up for the challenge. I'll take it. Joined the company, and we had one product called Simplr. We had 20 different products at the time. So we kind of picked that Simplr one and dusted it off and turned it into the go-forward brand, made ourselves into a branded house. And I mean, thank God, because if I asked you right now, like, what does VCS stand for? Can anyone in this room even remember what I just said 2 minutes ago?
Credentialing.
Oh, boom, look at that in the front with the glass. Nice, I like it. But you're listening, that's good. It's not an easy or memorable name. And good, although I will tell you, great job security for a CMO. But the trick was, how do we go from that Simplr to a branded house, which we did. We sort of made that step, it was important. It was very helpful, particularly because at about that time we had a plan for a lot of organic and inorganic growth. And so over the next 4 years, we bought 9 different companies and tucked those all under that Simplr brand. 7 of those were pretty big, kind of big integrations, platform, rebranding. Probably 2 were tuck-ins overall. But it was a big evolution to move into that Simplr space. With those 20 different brands, we still had a challenge though. So we're known as Simplr, it's good. We go out to these to our customers and say, okay, so what do you know about us? Who are we? Hospitals, CIOs, we also sell to payers, but I'm really gonna focus on this hospital group right now. And we talked to the customers and it was fascinating because what they told us was, first of all, they could kind of only low-key remember our name. And we were officially in a category called governance, risk, and compliance. So like snoozer on all levels, like governance, risk, and compliance, and we're vendor credentialing services. And governance, risk, and compliance didn't really cover all that we did. It wasn't a full-on category for us. When I asked them, what do you think about us? We sell all this technology in your hospital. And they're like, yeah. You explain what we do, they get it. They're like, okay, there's the ERPs, which is like Oracle. They've got a whole category for Oracle. There's the electronic medical records. Think of like your Salesforce, your HubSpots, like where you're storing all the patient data. They understand those too. And then as I talk to them, they're like, oh, you're all that other crap in my other budget. And I was thinking, okay, gee willikers. So that is our category. We are the other budget. Like, boom, I'm going to market. My category, the other budget. Not exactly gonna really do the work that we needed to do. And so we had to evolve. We had to come up with a new category, a new way of kind of capturing what it was that we could deliver and the space we wanted to play in. And so we did. So in order to grow, we had to create a category, and we named it healthcare operations. That space that was sort of the non-clinical essentials for hospital systems. But giving it a name, giving it something that people could kind of, okay, I get it, healthcare operations really helped. Well, now we've got competitors. We've got a whole heck of a lot of analysts in this field. We've got people calling themselves healthcare operations, this, that, and the other thing. And so it really has become kind of a category in its own right. But what's great is when you're at the front of that, and this is super tricky because every marketer in the room is like, oh yeah, I wish I could do that. Or you've tried to do it. But when you're at the front, you get to own that category for a period. Although the competitors are like right here. So, and some are kind of right in here. So it's good for a hot minute, but doesn't last forever. Healthcare operations, though, became our platform. It became our story. It kind of became our truth for the whole company. Again, though, it wasn't still enough. We had the brand, we had the category, we could put those two together, and it definitely helped us resonate. And it worked really well. It worked so well that we had all these different competitors coming. But here's the thing. We needed to move at scale. I mean, 150 to 500 million, all of these different acquisitions are coming in fast. And we've got to grow that brand fast and furious to keep up with the demand that was quickly coming. And we wanted to do that with an authentic brand. So the theory was, let's keep the brand really real. Kind of what we were just hearing about, like the three, like how do I keep that brand authentic? And we don't have a huge budget for creative. So we did get really, really snappy. We would actually take mock-ups of the beautiful photos, the stock photos. We'd add gray hair. We'd add like zits and we'd put like tattoos on them and just kind of make these people a little more relatable to our buyers. We'd add bellies on the men and just make them look real. So that helped us capture a little bit of the experience of the brand. We also needed to add automation and we needed to scale. We felt if we had the real brand, if we had a brand that could connect and we added automation, the two together could really kind of make the needle move. And so we call that brand Quisition. It's kind of a name. Honestly, it's a cheap name that I came up with because I didn't have a big enough budget to do brand and acquisition. But if I put them together, I'm like, I'll do brand Quisition. And it's become a bit of a formula for really building a brand that's going to kind of resonate. And here's the thing, when brand acquisition comes together, it actually turned out to be quite fortuitous because most of our acquisition work, our growth marketing, the growth marketers in the world, the work we're doing to grow pipeline, we're doing it with really good looking creative. So people can remember us. Because remember, and I think about this all the time, only 5% of your audience is buying right now. So like if you were all my audience, this table here is the only one that's gonna buy anything from me right now. The rest of you all, I gotta make sure I'm memorable. You're listening, you're learning, you're thinking about us, and I'm trying to make sure you're gonna come back. And so my acquisition targeting, as much as I'm driving demand and driving pipeline dollars with that acquisition, I still want to capture the rest of all the other people in this room, the guys who just bought something last year. They're not going to be back for 4 years. The guys in the back who are like, yeah, you know what, I'm actually actively looking for 2026. I want to capture that. That's about kind of how I think about brand acquisition, brand and outcomes. Outcomes that ultimately convert over time. Okay. Like what is AEO? I mean, so a year ago, did anybody here, anyone in this room know what this thing was? I didn't. If somebody a year ago had said, hey, Kristin, what are you guys doing in AEO? But does anybody know what this is? These 3 letters? Okay, good. AEO. Answer engine optimization. AI engine optimization. I don't, like it's brand new stuff here. I'm going to define it because I literally I wanted to go look this up and make sure I wasn't kind of leading the room astray. It's so new. Optimizing content to be the direct answer in search engines and AI assistants. So making sure you show up in chat, basically. Show up in Perplexity. Or get the link, the little like reference piece in chat. So here's a question. Show of hands, has anyone in this room been impacted by AI? Yeah, so good. Because and anybody who hasn't, we're going to talk afterwards because I want to understand your secret. But I got to tell, this is a true story. So it was about April, and I'm in a one-on-one with my head of performance marketing. And we're sitting down, and we kind of have this thing where we go through a bunch of different metrics. We look at a bunch of different stuff. And he says, Kristin, I got to tell you something. And I'm like, yeah, Patrick, what's going on? He's like, well. And he's like this kind of quiet, really nice guy who's very, you can tell from my energy, I probably scare the crap out of this poor guy. But he's like, well, we've seen a bit of a dip in traffic. I'm like, really? Talk to me. And we start looking at the numbers, and it's 3 weeks, that's it. But the traffic was going down. Now, we had just installed this cookie thing that, I don't know, California law, all kinds of stuff going on with our consent. We installed some new cookies, so we're thinking, well, maybe that's it. Let's look at it next week. The next week, down more. Our traffic was just like heading down a cliff starting in April. We've got a bunch of different tools that we use to look at this. Bright Edge is the one we use. It's a great tool. We also have SEMrush, but only one license because I like Bright Edge so much more. For us, direct is our #1 channel, followed by paid. So SEO is actually a pretty big deal in our world, and kind of getting that traffic in. Once we get it, boy, oh boy, it's a great source. This drop in demand was not good. And now, backtrack to January. Maybe January, December, like when chat came out. Did anybody remember when chat first came out? We were like, oh, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. We are going to have content for days. Everybody get those case studies in ChatGPT. We've got listicles. We've got like boom, boom, boom. You just kind of name your thing. And we were creating content off of all of that. Well, today I call that sloppy chat content now because it was like juice for a hot minute, but it didn't really resonate. It was kind of just content for the sake of content, not great content. And what we learned as our traffic's falling off a cliff, as we were having all this like sloppy chat content, was that actually to really win in this space, you've got to have really authentic content. The good content, like it's kind of back to basics, like the stuff we all know, but it's hard and it takes time. Good content actually resonates. Basics still apply, and that's what AEO has taught us. The best performing content that we have is the human content, the videos where we've got actual customers, not like the stock photos, even though we mark them up with the tattoos and everything, but the human content, humans talking to humans. or pictures of our products. That's the stuff that really resonates. But let me stop here because I got a question for, actually really want to know your AI kind of journey here. So specifically, how has AI, answer engine optimization, this stuff that I'm talking about, how has that impacted your website traffic? Has it impacted your traffic so that it's gone up significantly? In which case, I will like buy you a drink. I want to know what you're doing. Like, talk to me. Has it gone down? Yeah. Has it kind of shifted, but it's overall stable? I'm also love to talk to you. Or is it too early to tell? You can't quite get a grip on where things are. Some people are seeing a noticeable traffic decline. I was recently at another kind of CMO event, and we were talking about this, and it was just like roundtables, like a kind of a self-help group. Like, okay, what are you guys doing? What are you seeing? And I mean, it's brand new. It's just happening right now. We're all up in like, hey, what's HubSpot got going on? What do we need to do over here? Salesforce, how are you going to help us? But this is real. The declines are out there. It's interesting that some folks are seeing that it's overall stable, and those of you that it's too early to tell, yeah, I'm interested in what's your data. Like we look at this week over week. It's kind of coming up a little bit, but it is work, because what we are seeing is directly our traffic is going from our traditional sources, and those are declining. And we are starting to see some traffic coming in from these AI engines, but not as much. It's not a one-to-one. Let's go back to kind of where we were here. So the polls say a lot on AI. And I'm going to tell you what we're doing about it, which is, by the way, like just an N of one. So, take this all with a grain of salt, but I'll be interested as well. And, are you doing this? And how is your stuff working? Whether you're seeing gains or declines, or you're still not sure, one thing is clear, and that is that AI is reshaping how we think. It's certainly bringing a lot of advantages. All of the vendors out there, we're putting it in our products, all kinds of efficiencies to be gained, which I love. The BDR, we're looking at hopefully there's no BDRs in here. We're looking at a couple gain site tools, different things to replace BDRs and SDRs, or at least augment them, some interesting stuff there. But in terms of us, like actually losing traffic to chat GPTs and the AI engines of the world, or challenging our sales team because they're coming in so much more advanced and knowledgeable than they ever have before, it's something we're thinking about. So how are we responding? So like I said, it's back to basics. Number one for us is really figuring out who our ICP is. So if this is a room full of just sort of like, hospitals, executives, I want to focus on the CIOs. And if it's still CIOs, I want to focus on am I winning in enterprise, mid-market, SMB? Which product's going to hit where? And really getting into that kind of laser-focused ICP adjustment. We actually know our win rates. Now, this is a stat I found on Perplexity, 68% higher win rates by aligning to ICPs. But we see an increase in our win rates if we can get better tuned on those ICPs, and particularly the handshake between sales and marketing. That's kind of critical. It's not just ICPs, though. It's also optimizing our content, optimizing it for a couple different things. One, we want the content coming onto our website. And we want to look at conversion rates. So how are we getting the content on our website, or the people coming to our website? We're doing more of the things that we have, meaning products, like actually showing our products, product videos. That's going to bring content. That's something nobody else can have, just me. You've got to come to my website to see that. We're bringing in more specifics associated with content that only we know. Surveys, thought leadership surveys. We've got a Compass report that does pretty well. It's kind of a survey of like trends in our industry. Those are performing. So we're doing more of that. We're leaning into that. We're even doing on the conversion rates. Once we get them to our website, oh my God, like how do we turn? We're putting things, this is kind of a hot trick that's up here. This is a little picture, but it's a picture of our product behind the click button. So putting the product behind the demo now has got like a 7x click-through rate, I should say 70, but 7x click-through rate compared to what we normally look at. We just have people turning on that. And all it is literally a product picture behind the kind of the demo screen. We're playing around a lot though with that testing and learning, and the results that we're seeing are 50% increase in penetration through the pages. So first of all, I'm getting them there, and now I'm looking and driving them down. Hotjar, I don't know if any of you guys use that, great tool. Even I can use it, so you know it's a good one. But it shows me who's coming down the page and who's not, and where the drop-offs are happening. Can I pull that content all the way, that individual all the way down? Lower bounce rate, 25% lower bounce rate, and it's because that crack-like sloppy chat content, which I did love for a hot minute because it was just like so easy, it's got to go. And unfortunately, we got to bring it back to good old product marketing, talking about the products, why, in the voice of the customer, with the value proof points coming from other customer case studies. It's a back to basics kind of world. Now, not only do we have to do all of that, but awareness is not just about being seen. It's about being remembered. So if I do all of that, and again, only these guys over here are buying. Only 5% of this entire room is buying from me. I gotta be remembered. I get you to the website. I do all of this great work. Now I need you to remember us, so that remember me next month, remember me in 3 months from now, remember me down the road. And how do we stand out in a noisy market? And again, this is us. We're doing, one of the big things that we do is customer outcomes. So the customer voice, the outcomes, the case studies, they're hard. It's probably the hardest thing to do, to get customers to agree to case studies. If it's easy for you, again, I really want to hear about that. But going on record, taking time, doing that work, but it's gold. Standing out with customer outcomes, ROI, benchmarks. We're working with our customer success team to work through the entire stage from actual purchase onto all the way out the door until usage, to show metrics to our customers of what they can expect and how we compare against the competition. Tying our campaigns directly to those tangible results is really critical. And then when we do that, it's like the stages of customer acquisition, like you kind of move through all the different stages. For us, the holy grail, that's the song from the 80s, like Stairway to Heaven, which, by the way, totally have some really funny stories about that. But Stairway to Heaven is like that moment when those customers come on board and they actually advocate for you. They like your product so much that they'll talk about them to others. Like I just did with that Hotjar. And I actually have never talked to a Hotjar rep in my entire life, but I talk about those guys all the time. When our customers tell our story for us, they're the best marketers we've got. It's 9 times, 20, 100 times better than what we can do on our own. So leveraging that voice through different channels has been really important. G2 is a big channel for us. We use it a lot. We engage with that. We get a lot of leads from G2. And again, it's customers. We point our customers over to G2. We get them telling and adding those references. But when customers are on board and advocating for us, it's pretty impactful. That advocacy turns into growth, and that growth helps support the brand. So as we close, let me also talk about one more thing. And this is, like I said, I was doing this and I was getting ready for this board stuff. And it's that time of year for us. We're an annual company, so I'm in annual planning right now. I don't know how many of you guys are in that planning mode, but I'm seeing smiles and head shakes, so we can all have a group think later. But it is, pulling together the data. How are we performing 25 year to date? What does year over year growth look like? Something every one of us has to master is figuring out that return on marketing investment. And what does that look like? And is it real? Is it soft? Where is it? Why are we winning? Why are we losing? By channel, across the board. The metrics we use, and I'm like a metrics person, so I love it when other people tell me their metrics, so I'm showing you some of mine. My go-to metric is my ROMI, return on marketing investment, which I look at a couple different ways. So the one that the CFO and the board, and we're like a private equity company that they, this is probably the only reason I still have a job. The one that they continue to really appreciate is when we show them our return on marketing investment across everything we do. Program spend, people, and tech. Compared to, and the return is bookings. I mean, that's a really tough metric. It's not a beauty metric, because you're literally saying, my investment is my whole kettle of fish, and I'm bumping myself up against the company metrics, top line bookings. That's a tough one. But there are others as well that we look at, because I want to understand my program spend. So I look at my investment just in program spend against pipeline. So how much pipeline is that program spend getting me? And program spend against bookings overall. I know some of you are like, okay, when is she going to stop talking about this? I got you. It's not the creatives in the room are like, oh, but honestly, the goal is to be able to say with confidence, you give me $1, I'll give you 8. Tell me exactly what you're going to do with marketing. I mean, and it's hard, right? Because brand, a lot of this stuff you can't show a value for it. But we try. In order to do RAMI, you've got to have pipeline contribution. You've got to know and be able to calculate how much pipeline you're generating by your different channels. What's the velocity of that pipeline? How fast is it moving through the funnel? We've got a stage 2 problem right now. I can tell you that my stage 2 pipeline is not converting. I'm losing 49% of it. All that other stuff I just talked about kind of blows when 49% of your pipeline is moving out the door at stage 2. Training issues, enablement, we've got a lot of stuff going on about it, but at least I know where the problem is, and we're working to correct it. CAC, a constant work in progress for us. It's not an easy one. It's a big one for B2B. Lifetime value, B2C, another one that's really like hot with the B2C marketers, not as important for us. Retention, brand awareness, all really critical. Conversion is ultimately what we're looking for. We target 30% pipeline contribution from marketing with a 15% conversion rate. That's how we kind of budget and align ours. Some people have more. Sort of depends on your market. We do a lot of selling into a base, and we have a pretty big purchase price. That kind of works for us. So we started with a challenge. How do you build a brand in a world of complexity, in a world of automation? We talked about the fact that brands come from stories, that they've got to be connected, they've got to be real. We talked about teams. We talked about the fact that you've got to show the results for that brand that you're building ultimately at the end of the day, that the content and the channels have to deliver. They've got to be tuned, that new categories create clarity and let you demonstrate leadership. But ultimately, when it all comes together, that good old brand acquisition, man, that is kind of gold. So we started with a simple challenge. Can Siri build me a brand? Of course, AI cannot build a brand, not alone. It takes people, it takes customers, it takes product, it takes all of that coming together to really create authentic brands at scale, built on emotion, on storytelling, on impact, where technology helps us scale and really kind of hit a big group. At the core, that brand's got to be really strong. Exactly what Jamie said. Beautiful content that resonates, that makes you wonder, wait, hold on, where did that come from? Why were you working on that? That's our golden ticket. When we do that well, we're all kind of chasing that branded moment with our customers, driving towards that scale, chasing that ROI. But when it all comes together, it's pretty impactful. And you can see growth. It just takes a lot of work. But you guys think.
Like this video? We've got loads more on demand. To access all previous event recordings, become a member. When you join, you also get access to more resources, templates, and inspiration from other marketing leaders and CMOs. If you do want to catch us live, though, why not join us at our next event? Simply head to the link in the description to see where we're headed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.